700 KBYR. 7:50 a.m. is news time, and it is Wednesday, which means we get a chance to talk with our technology expert, technologies, careers, and more. Dr. Tracey Wilen joins us. She's a thought expert who's worked for big names like HP and Apple and Cisco and everything else. She's here today to talk with us about that technology. And, of course, big news from the weekend was the Grammys and Lady Gaga and all the technology that went into that. She's here to talk with us about that this morning. Good morning, Doctor.
Oh, good morning.
Thanks for coming on. So tell us a little bit about all the technology. And Lady Gaga's, her big tribute to David Bowie was a big hit, but of course part of it was thanks to that technology.
Yes, in fact, this was, I have been going to the Grammys for a while as an educator, and over the years, I've always watched the use of technology, but I would have to say this one really takes the cake, in all of the performances. But the one that everyone's talking about is, of course, Lady Gaga, because she partnered with Intel and did some amazing things on stage.
Now, some of the things that we're seeing on stage and some of the things that they're doing, these are things that we're expecting, in the future, of course. You'll be able to, see use in your own home. I mean, augmented reality, some of the things that are drawn right on your face and everything else.
Yeah, so that was interesting. It's called digital skin, but if you've gone to shows in cities where it's really projection, video projection, and they did it on her face so that she could look like all of the David Bowie over the year, what his faces look like, what his makeup looked like. They even had creepy crawling tarantulas on her face.
Right.
And so it's just evolving to a point where music and technology, and I think that's the interesting thing, is music and technology have intersected. And that creates, a new category of jobs for people who love technology and love music. And now we're seeing it play out. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the future on some of these shows.
She also had some pretty cool jewelry that she was showing off, different things that technology, different vibes that could be done.
Yeah, so everything was controlled actually in a ring. The Curie module ring, if you look it up under Intel. And basically using these rings on her hands, she was changing the environment around her, whether it was, lights or having animation pop up or 3D. These rings were really the control center. And I thought that was a very interesting new concept in wearable technology. And the other thing that she did was 4D. Many people are familiar with 3D, but 4D is bringing in extra elements. It might be wind, it might be vibration, it might be rain, in addition to the 3D element. I've seen some fashion shows use 4D. And then also, we have to talk about her piano.
Right, I saw the piano was dancing all by itself. I mean, she was dancing, but the piano was dancing along with her.
Yeah, so that's all about robotics, So people say, technology, is it creating jobs or is it displacing jobs? Well, here's an example of where robotics have been used in a performance to actually animate the use of the piano. So as, the artist moves, well, the piano moves like a wave. And it was just a more creative way than having a stagnant piano. So I think some of these were quite interesting. It wasn't just Lady Gaga. She by far has got most of the press. But when we entered into the Staples Center, everyone got a wristband. And that was for the Taylor Swift opening performance. And these RFID bands would light up and sync with the music. And so you actually were creating as an audience, you were actually crowdsourcing a light show. And I thought that was another interesting technique used.
And how much more of that do you think is going to, when you're able to walk into a concert or a venue and, touch your phone here on the way in to sync up with whatever it is. Maybe they've got a special app or maybe they got a special push notification or something where it'll light up or it'll buzz your phone or it'll do something with the screen. Everybody gets they already have the lighter app, right? Instead of having everybody holding their lighters up, now they got their holding up their phones. But, how much more of that are we going to see as we move forward?
And that's a really good question because I thought about that as well. Because that's expensive to give over 20,000 people wristbands.
Right.
But it is, we're in a generation now where everything is about the crowd participation. And it really brought the audience part of the performance rather than observing the performance. So I think as long as we have that kind of trend, those kinds of giveaways or participation tactics will be used. But I did want to just talk a little bit about careers on this, because this is a whole category called special effects. And I think it's important that if people want to participate, whether it's putting large fires on the stage, which every rock band had, fire on demand.
Right.
This is a whole category of jobs, and it's called special effects. And it used to be handled by the studios, but now it's small shops. And if you create a portfolio, you don't necessarily have to go and get a degree in it. This is something, if you have something you do well, whether it's building models or setting fires, God forbid. This is something that, you can get experience in, whether it's through haunted houses or, student filming. And it's a real job category in Los Angeles. And I've met people who have made careers out of just doing beer can models or submarine models. And
right.
So there's, something for people to think about if you get really excited about these shows.
Well, and I think as you look forward, even just the ideas. The ideas of how do we, who thought of, hey, let's crowdsource this stuff? Who thought of some of these different things? There's the outside the box thinking, and it's people who are not necessarily, who have gone through necessarily the traditional model or the traditional schooling, who are able to come up with some of these ideas outside of the box.
Yes, and that's when I ask people who are in special effects, they said, it's usually you have a hobby or something that you're really interested in, and you do it very well. And then you become creative, as you mentioned with it, and you start experimenting. And then you find ways to use your creativity by getting experience, because most people want to see people who have experience. And then once you've experienced, then you put it on your resume, and resumes are still important, or create a portfolio of photos or a reel. And a reel is just, can you video examples of yourself with these different models, or if you're doing fire shows, or if you're doing wind and water, or whatever it is. And there's, these are full-blown careers now. And as we use more and more technology in any kind of show, there's a new demand being created.
Right. And again, this is where we have to start encouraging our kids, I think, to think outside the traditional. I'll be honest with you, this traditional career path that we're seeing today, I think more and more these things are going to go by the wayside, where they're going to have to look at something that says, what interests you? How can you shape that to your world rather than the other way around? Instead of shaping yourself to whatever the mold is, find ways to make a lot of this stuff happen, because as technology increases, the world is almost your oyster. You could almost create and carve out your own niche if it is something that's, technologically viable.
Yes, and you're bringing up a good point. Find what you like to do, that you do well, but well enough so that you can get paid for it. And I think a lot of people have hobbies, but they're not connecting the dots of how can I have my hobby fit into an employable opportunity?
Right.
How can I actually get money for it? And what do I need to do to get very good at it? And that's where I think technology can help us, because we can reach out to other people using social media who are doing exactly what we do and ask them, how did you get to that path and make money?
Right, exactly. Because I always said if somebody else has done it, I can probably do it. If somebody else has broken the trail, at least I know I can find out from them how they got there, and I think that's the important part. So technologies, obviously, we can learn everywhere. Watching the Grammys and everything else, I think it's great stuff. Dr. Tracey Wilen, again, you can find her at TraceyWilen.com. Thanks so much for coming on, Doctor, and talking with us about this. We always love having you on.
Thank you very much.